Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be having a look at a new announcement from Paradox Interactive on a new CIV-like game that'll be released sometime next year in 2024. It's called Millenia. Millennia is Paradox's take on a civilization type game. From everything I've seen and read, it looks more in depth than a standard CIV game in terms of the economy and the tile management from what we've seen from released information so far. So to me it seems like a common theme for Paradox about grand strategy. It's not just a civilization style game, it's a little bit more involved, a little bit more in depth. So, and I think we'll see that play out over the next number of dev diaries in the next few months as we get more information. So let's dive into the dev diary. So hello everyone, we're excited to present the first dev diary for Millenia. In this we'll talk a little about the vision and features of the game and also about us, CIV Games. You can expect additional diaries that go into more detail on various features and the thought behind them in the coming months leading up to our release next year. If you like what you see, you can wishlist the game right now. Yeah, it is available on Steam to wishlist presently. CIV Games. Before we get rolling, we should say a few words about who we are. CIV Games was formed by experienced strategy developers who have worked together on some of your favourite stuff. We are probably most known for our work on the Age of Empires franchise. Okay, that's interesting. We always liked Age of Empires. We love working in smaller teams. There are around 20 people on Millenia currently. Our office is in Colorado, but we are organised to support hybrid remote in-office development, and the team is numerous other locations including Texas, New Mexico and Oregon. Okay, so 20, that's not too bad, development team for a Paradox game, so that should be quite good. And I like how they've had previous experience with Age of Empires, and they're also based in the United States, so that's interesting too. At our core, we are a lifelong hardcore strategy gamers, and we have basically wanted to make a 4X since forever. We started Millenia in 2019. It's definitely a labour of love, and we are very excited to start being able to share with you. So this game has been in some form of development for 4 years, so that is a fairly long time actually. So they've obviously been working on this for a while, which you can see in some of the information they've released already. The game looks quite advanced in at least alpha stage in terms of this. It looks like it's got a lot of the features and that implemented, and it's I like how the trailer 2 shows a lot of these different ages. I think there's something like 15 ages that we've seen that you can progress through in some of the released gameplay we've seen from some people. Okay, moving along. What's this? You haven't seen anything else about the game. Millenia is a new turn-based 4X that features alternate history, custom tech trees, and a deep economy and combat. So there's that mention of the deep economy again, where I think we're going to dive deeper into the economic models, providing resources and tile developments so you can build certain buildings and units and certain goods that you may need for your strategic needs for your game to be able to expand. And also the combat. I think combat is more involved too than a normal CIV game. It might be more along the lines of Humankind from what I've seen. It's sort of a mix between a few games, but yeah, you go into a different combat screen and the units interact with each other. We've carried the concept of Millenia around for a long time. Please note my intentional avoidance of a pun there in Millenia. That is fairly typical of our process. We tend to have a lot of rough game directions, perlocating, and these get worked on here and there until we feel like it's in the right time for one of them. In this case of Millenia, a few things motivated us to make this our next game. So yeah, sounds like it's very much like the Paradox as well. Paradox tend to operate like that as well, so you can see why they're developing this game together. As strategy game developers, 4X is a cornerstone of the entire genre. It's something we love and something we want to work on. Designing alongside Bruce Shelley while at Ensemble certainly provided some motivation in this direction. As strategy game players, we saw 4X as receiving less attention than it deserved. To us, the amount of obvious player interest was far greater than the number of games being provided and amount of new gameplay being explored. Certainly, we personally wanted more 4X games, and we have talked a lot about of fans who felt the same way. Yeah, there has been not as much 4X games released along that sort of Civ sort of game. We've seen Old World, we've seen Humankind, and obviously Civ 6, and Civ 6 being the big one. Humankind, I think it's still sort of gaining traction. It hasn't hit its stride yet. After it's been a couple of years since its release, so I think there's still some things there that need to work on. But I do like the game Humankind. Civ 6 is obviously, Civ is very well fleshed out. But it is, I think, 6 to 7 years old, I think now, Civ 6, and might be getting time for a new one there. And you got Old World as well. So, yeah, we could certainly use a few more 4X games along that Civ sort of franchise. Shortly after we started to flesh out the systems that would become the pillars of Millennia, we really felt the spark. Not only did we see how things could fit together, but we also started to see something unique, something we really wanted to play ourselves. The age model, in particular, quickly developed into something that everyone saw potential in and was excited about. Yeah, this age system does seem very interesting. Like, I know we've had you've got your age periods and stuff where you go through civilization. You got the Bronze Age and Stone Age and Industrial Age and all this type of thing, Renaissance. But this seems more, you've got a lot of different ages that we've seen, like we've just seen on the screen there. I could see Age of Kings, Age of Plague. Then there's things like Age of Chaos and I think Age of War. And if you happen to hit one of those ages, it's like everyone becomes at war with each other, and it becomes like a real age of chaos, and like this age of heroes. So there's real random sort of replayability there that you don't see in some of the, we haven't seen at all in the other 4X games in that sort of design mechanic. So that would be an interesting mechanic to watch, and we'll see how that plays out as we get more game footage. During the early stages of development, CPROM shared a prototype of Millennia with our friends at Paradox and happily discovered agreement on those motivations. So they're both in agreement. I can see why Paradox and CPROM are working together. So the vision. 4X is a large genre that can support a lot of different experiences. One of the experiences we felt had been overlooked was that of player authorship, or feeling that you are the one writing the story. When we played, we often felt less like we were leading a nation and more like we were trying to remember board game rules. So from very high level, one of our goals was to steer in the direction of a more open-ended system-based gameplay to deliver a feeling of being the guiding spirit of a nation. First and foremost, that direction informs a lot of our decisions. So that's a similar theme in Paradox games presently, and you've seen it like in EU4, even in Hoi4, Stellaris. You can really take your nation or your gameplay sort of in your own direction and write your own story. It's not just a hard scripted campaign gameplay, which is really good. And early signs from Star Trek Infinite seems to be along a similar vein as well, where it's all based on that replayability, and you can get those random events which completely change your game, which is really good. Pillar, alternate history. A key innovation in Millennia is the age-based design. There are 10 ages in a normal game, ranging from the Stone Age to the near future. Each age provides the experience of the age. The Iron Age has Iron Age technologies, Iron Age units, Iron Age buildings, and rules specific to the condition of the Iron Age. If you keep things within normal parameters, you might progress through 10 standard ages, each delivering historical gameplay. I like how they mention the word standard ages, because I believe there's about 5 non-standard ages, such as Age of Chaos and Age of War and Age of Heroes and other things like that. So there's good and bad ages that can happen. However, Millennia allows history to go off the rails. Yeah, okay, so that's sort of just what I was mentioning there. If you make some different decisions, you might steer your timeline into alternate ages. These ages are still historically themed, but explore some of what-if territory. The age of ether is based on a history where the internal combustion engine doesn't come about as soon as it did, and steam power develops further. The age of blood is based on a war raging out of control and spreading across the world. So that's a couple of interesting ideas. I really like that. That's very interesting how like the combustion engine didn't develop and steam power kept on going further. So that's something I never thought of. The age of blood, yeah, that's sort of I mentioned. Probably like an age of chaos type where everyone's at war. So that's really interesting. I can see the future as well. They could add more ages and future expansions and updates, and as time goes on, you hit certain conditions or you do certain actions, and you can trigger some random age, and leads to all these different events unfolding, which would be really interesting and really adds to that replayability and telling a unique story. So I really like that. That's going to be probably one of my favorite things to look at. That ultimately most of the things you have used in a game come from the ages, so you can end up with very different scenarios depending on the specific history and alternate history your timeline moves through. So what have we got now? Now we've got Pillar, custom tech trees. Millennia features a system called national spirits. Think of national spirits as things a nation can be famous for. Are your people known as great engineers? Is one of your major cities seen as the centre of global banking? Does the world fear your unbeatable warriors? Mechanically, each nation's spirit is a technology tree. You get to pick national spirits from a set of different points in a game. Doing so makes the technologies of the national spirit available to you. Though national spirits you get to customise your nation, you decide what you will be famous for during the course of the game. Yeah, so national spirits, you're sort of seeing similar things in other type of games like this. So that sort of just adds, I guess, a bit of uniqueness, and I guess it helps identify each of the nations from each other. And you'll be able to pick your national spirits by the sound of it, so you can get probably unique units and technologies and buildings and things like that we've seen. Pillar, deep economy and combat. Okay, and this is one of the key areas I'm really interested in. Economy and combat are key to Millennia. As you lead your nation, you'll need to design the right economy for your strategy. Not all resources in Millennia are the same. Cutting down trees for logs can provide production, much like mining copper. However, with the right improvements, you can create a chain where your logs are made into paper, which is then made into books, getting you knowledge or religion or government or wealth instead of production. So that's really good. So their production or the resources can be put into a chain for different outcomes, not just a simple, a forest. There's so many production points, and you can build units or buildings in your city at a certain speed. Now you can actually turn it into a whole different production chain. So that is a unique take on things as well. Some resources are like the logs, broad and capable of steering into a variety of different goods, while others are more focused and less flexible. How you decide to structure your economy has an impact on your capabilities and your ability to respond to changing conditions. That sounds like each resource can be done into multiple different products, or some of the more maybe unique resources will be limited in the product chains they can make. So yeah, that's very good, and that's going to shape how your empire unfolds and how you want to structure your empire and where you want to go with what's your gameplay. One of the places this is felt is with combat. The best military for you to field changes based on your economic design and the age you have moved into and the national spirits you have selected. You might be better with more production to train troops, or more warfare domain to support them, or more wealth to pay the upkeep on expensive elite troops. Or, beyond the economy, combat offers its own interesting decisions. Different types of units have different capabilities. You design your armies by assigning multiple units to fight together, allowing you to create different army types for different needs. Okay, so it's like you have different types of units, archers and swordsmen, and maybe cavalry and chariots and all that type of thing mixed in, maybe siege weapons like catapults. We've sort of seen before, so I guess it'll be based on what resources you have access to as well, or what production change you can make. So it's sort of, yeah, Paradox is big on these the production chains. So next, this is the tip of the iceberg. Millennia is a huge game. The outline above is an introduction, but there is plenty to cover regarding the pillars, plus a substantial number of major systems that haven't been mentioned. Over the next few weeks, we will present additional dev diaries to showcase more of the game and to dive deeper into specific features. Next up, in 2 weeks, we'll talk about the building blocks of your nation, regions, towns and outposts, and also cover a bit of the world map itself. We hope you'll check back and join us for more of the game, and of course, if this all sounds good, please wish us to game on Steam. Yeah, so dev dies every 2 weeks at this stage. I guess that's because the game appears to be in alpha and still it is some time away from release, so we've got plenty of time to learn all the nice bits and features of what Millennia will provide us. But yeah, it certainly does seem like a really big game, in-depth game, which is what you would expect, a bit more in-depth perhaps than what we would expect from a standard 4X game with Civ and Humankind and Old World, and that's a similar feature from Paradox games. I think it'll be more along the themes of grand strategy 4X. So it won't be just a simple 4X. So it'll be interesting to see the learning curve to the game. I guess a lot of 4X players will be pretty familiar with it, but I mean for new players, new people joining in, if they jump straight into it, sometimes Paradox games can have a steep learning curve. But I think the 4X Civ are pretty well known, so it shouldn't be too difficult. It's more along the lines like if you're playing like a completely new one like Stellaris, was a completely type of new space grand strategy game, real-time grand strategy game, and that was a really steep learning curve for a lot of people. But yeah, so if you're interested in a new 4X game, new Civ type of game, keep an eye on Millennia, keep watching these videos and dev diaries. I'll be releasing information, and I'm going to try and get my hands on a copy of the game as well if I can, and that would be good. I can do some more videos, and yeah, I'll be definitely adding this to what I'll be playing in the future. It seems like I'm going to have a lot less time because I'm going to be playing Stellaris, I'm going to be playing Star Trek Infinite, I'm going to be playing Millennia, and I want to get into a few more games as well, and I'm going to start doing a few more videos on a whole range of strategy games, so keep your eyes out for that. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, send me some comments and what your thoughts are on Millennia, and what questions you want answered, so we can I can put them up and see if in the next videos we might better answer them. Alright, thanks for watching, bye for now.